Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to a Friday edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com. You can also stream the show on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And you can also watch us on YouTube, The Fan KLGN, for those who want to watch the show there and watch what we're up to and see some of the videos that we'll share. Of course, the audio comes across on radio, but you can also see some of these things that are being that we reference if you participate on the YouTube account. But also, you can drop in a comment or a question on the YouTube page on the stream, or you can just text us on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line 435-339-0321. And Jason, it has been a roller coaster for trying to figure out who is eligible to play for college athletics. Do they enter the portal or they don't? Do they get a fifth year or do they not? This state has this temporary restraining order. This other state has a different one. The NCAA says yes. Then a judge says no. Then it's been back and forth all summer long. Why they couldn't figure this out or make this determination like after the school season started or even last fall when it was originally being discussed, so they had more of an on-ramp to get the legal stuff figured out before this season. It may be just that the NCAA was anticipating this and they're purposely dragging their feet so that those, especially those affected for football, just they have a lost season. They have nothing to do. They're just unfortunately caught in the wake of all of this.
Well, with all this, I feel like I need one of those conspiracy boards with like all the red string and tying because there's this lawsuit in this state and that lawsuit in this state and this lawsuit applies to this athlete. This one applies to this athlete, but this one doesn't. And then this one's been overturned, so now this athlete isn't eligible, but this athlete still is because they're tied to this lawsuit over here.
They entered the portal even though it appeared their eligibility was up, but just in case they didn't. Then this one didn't, so he can't.
So it's like there's this giant web of you need like an abacus to handle all of this and figure out, or again, a conspiracy board or a spreadsheet and whatnot. And I regret not having invested in those assets earlier to be tracking all these things. But yeah, I think with the NCAA, the issue is that like with most of the, whenever they kind of, make some of these changes to eligibility or whenever they're kind of faced with one of the losses where they need to grant eligibility, they have in most of these cases just defaulted to, look, whatever works best for the athletes. We're not going to try and get in their way. We're not going to try and ruin everybody. Like when, Diego Pavia was suing and getting the extra year because of junior college, they were just like, you know what, just everybody. I can't remember if that was enforced by a judge, but the NCAA was just like, look, everybody gets one. We're not dealing with this. When COVID came around and everyone was upset, like some people played and some people didn't, they were just like, look, everybody gets another year. We're not dealing with this. Just everybody who was part of that COVID season, you get an extra year. We'll figure it out later. And so they've tended to default to giving athletes that extra year, but this time they drew a line in the sand. Because they said, look, if your eligibility expires, then you know what? I'm sorry, you just don't apply to this set of rules. And it seems unfair, but to be honest, I kind of understand why the NCAA did it, partly because they would have been getting feedback from coaches, from administrators, and all these other people who say, look, we've got incoming freshmen. There's probably some feedback from, I don't know if they're like high school freshmen appealing to the NCAA, but those concerns clearly weighed on their mind. They did not want to upset yet another recruiting cycle. Having a bunch of talented high school players who would otherwise be playing FBS and high major in power conference sports, they would get kind of bumped down, to other levels. Yeah, that's not the worst thing in the world, although typically the big impact could be, well, to be honest, they could get paid less, literally. If you're a 4-star freshman going to power conference, you're getting paid a lot. You're not getting paid as much if you're going to a mid-major school or whatnot. If you're like a high 3-star, you can get some, basic NIL from some of these power conference schools. But instead, you're getting recruited by a mid-major where it's like, it'll take a year or two for you to get any kind of money because they have to reserve that for the stars. So there's some harm being done to some of those incoming high school players. And so that was clearly weighing on the NCAA's mind. At least I assume it was weighing on their mind. And so they were like, look, this time we're just going to draw a line in the sand. And we're sorry, you didn't get that extra year, but you signed up to play under those rules. We're changing the rules now. We know it's going to upset some people, but we're just going with this. But because, for the very reason that the NCAA is instituting this 5-year eligibility, there are people who are desperate to keep playing college sports, not just because they love playing college sports, but because it makes them a lot of money.
It makes them money, and it gives them the potential to continue to raise their profile for potentially the next level. Some guys, they realize they're not going to make it to the next level, so this is their payday.
Yeah, that for a lot of those people, this is the most money they will make. They will make more money in these last 3 or 4 years than they will pretty much the rest of their lives for some of these guys. Like Jackson Kohler, who's now going to BYU, although we'll see if he's able to retain his eligibility. He'll get paid 6 figures, maybe even 7 figures. He might not make that same amount of money in the next 10 to 20 years of his life.
Well, he could go play overseas.
If he goes pro, but if he goes play overseas,
it'll take a while.
Yeah, like I said,
take a while.
You make 60, 70 grand a year playing professional sports. I mean, if he plays high level outside of the NBA, he can maybe make 6 figures. But in that case, it's still taking him 10 years to make what he will make just this year. This is a decade plus worth of salary for a normal person, and they can make that in 1 year. So their pupils are turning to cash sign, and they're saying, look, we want to get back into this. Lawyers, they're seeing dollar signs in their eyes because they can get their cut of that NIL money these athletes are going to get as a legal fee. So all of these people are seeing dollar signs in fighting for that eligibility. And it's because the NCAA drew a line in the sand where a reasonable person would think, hey, these guys maybe are getting wrong. Maybe they should have been included. But the NCAA did make a logical decision to exclude the class of 2022 from that automatic 5th season. The only people from the class of 2022 who were supposed to be able to play were those who had redshirted at some point. And that's where they got their 5th year. But we have a bunch of people who never redshirted, never had a medical waiver. Those are the people who reached the end of their eligibility.
Yeah, so the timing of it is certainly interesting for us, where yesterday we spent a good chunk of our time on this show celebrating the fact that it looks like Bryson Taylor is coming back. He's on the roster. He's practicing with the team. He has a jersey number. That's significant for Bronco Mendenhall and his team. We got to talk to Coach Mendenhall about Bryson Taylor. We got to talk to Bryson Taylor himself about getting the call and realizing, hey, maybe I do get a chance to still play some football. And then this morning, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals granted the NCAA's stay request in the ruling that took place in Colorado. So there have been numerous different states that have had their own little rulings on things. There was Ohio, and then there's been several others, and then
there's ones in Florida,
there was a
Tennessee,
reversal
Kentucky.
on what happened in Ohio. But the one that only applied to athletes who had applied. There's a small number, 15, 12, 50 in one case from one state. But the Colorado deal was this could apply to everyone who meets this criteria. And so then it's oh, okay. It looks like that judge said, yes, do you get another another year of eligibility, added some clarity just a day or two later saying it does not create a new portal window. So it grants you an extra eligibility where you were. And so that's what opened the door for Bryson Taylor. But then today, the NCAA, they asked for an expedited appeal, and the 10th Circuit has granted that stay. So it's now it's all on hold again.
Yeah, so I had to do a bit of a rewrite to the article I was writing about Bryson Taylor and about his return. The first draft is, hey, it's kind of cool that he's back. And now it's, well, he is back, but he also might not be because of all this stuff. Because, the Colorado ruling is what specifically allowed him because it basically applied to everyone in the class of 2022 who had exhausted their eligibility at the end of the 2026 calendar, the academic year. Bryson was one of those. There are literally thousands of athletes whom that applies to. Mostly hundreds in the case of like football and basketball, well, maybe still thousands, but really only like hundreds who are realistically going to chase that opportunity. Because there's a lot of people that are just like, look, we're just going to move on and just deal with it. But there are players literally coming back from the NFL who are on NFL rosters. Like Bryson Taylor was in a rookie minicamp, but he didn't make the Atlanta Falcons roster. He comes back. There are literally players who are on NFL rosters participating in the preseason who are like, I'm going to come back. I'm entering the portal and I'm coming back.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers rookie Jack Pyburn recorded 2 sacks in a preseason win over the Jets on Friday. But now looks like he's going to be headed back to college.
Yeah. So
because of a Louisiana ruling.
Yeah. So the Colorado ruling applied to everyone, but there's a bunch of these others that mean a lot of other athletes are still eligible. I mentioned Jackson Kohler. I think he was part of the Louisiana one, or I forget which one he was tied to, but he's tied to one of these other injunctions essentially, because there's like half a dozen injunctions that have been ruled on by different state courts that apply to small groups of athletes. For instance, the Ohio one, it was like 15. There's one in Kentucky that I think there's like almost 70 of them, I think. But like a lot of these states are having, these varying groups of athletes who are plaintiffs in the lawsuit. They're all granted eligibility under the injunction.
Yeah, 30 in Louisiana.
Yeah, 30 in Louisiana. So like there are these pockets of players who are now going different places. They're entering the transfer portal. Utah State basketball is chasing a couple of these players. We mentioned Trey Holloman, like Dallin Hall's in the portal, where he's attached to one of these other lawsuits, where he's still has the chance to enter the portal and commit somewhere if he so chooses. So there's still a lot of these players around. So even though this specific Colorado ruling, which was kind of ubiquitous, although that's been overturned and a lot of players kind of lost temporarily, I guess, have re-lost their eligibility, there are still a bunch of athletes because of these other decisions that are able to maintain their eligibility. But we're not sure about that either, because the Ohio one, which is again one of these separate specific ones for a specific group of 15 athletes, that got overturned. So the NCAA is going one by one as fast as they can. As soon as these injunctions go in, they are sending in appeals. They did it with the Ohio one because that one was like the first in chronological order where there was an injunction. I can't remember if Colorado was second, but it was pretty soon after. They file an expedited repeal. Just today, there was an injunction in Kentucky, and recently there have been ones, and again, I forget exactly which states. I think Florida and Tennessee are among them. Louisiana. I think there's one in California. There's one in just about every state. So they're starting to get they're getting all these injunctions, but the NCAA is going to go after those. So how many of those are going to stand up to, the appeal over that injunction? Because again, these athletes want the injunction because in previous cases, that has just been de facto, we win. Because all we want is to get on the roster and to play. And by the time the whole case makes its way through the legal process, they've already played the whole season. They could lose the case and they don't care.
Yeah, NCAA just wants to run out the clock.
Yeah.
If they can. And it's for basketball, there's still time.
The athletes, they've wanted to run out the clock. Like they want to have the injunction, and then the NCAA can fight the stuff. But yeah, the NCAA is trying to expedite the process to get these injunctions flipped or stayed, because then that becomes de facto victory for them. Because if the athletes can't win the case until January, well, football's out the window for playing, and basketball, you're halfway through the season. So it's like the NCAA is trying to beat these lawsuits at their own game, where they're trying to get a de facto victory by an injunction, and the NCAA is trying to get the injunction stayed so that they get the de facto victory.
So I don't know if, based on this information that we've received and the way things have happened within the last 24 hours, does Bryson Taylor still get to practice with the team? He just can't play with the team as of yet? Or does he have to vacate the premises now because he's ineligible?
It depends.
As long as he doesn't play, record any stats or snaps, does it matter if he's on the team and still practicing with the team?
Might have to make a phone call to Utah State to be like, do you guys know? Because to be honest, we might run into the situation where they're not sure either.
Yeah.
It kind of makes it
moving
messy
target
for them
for a lot of people.
because they're like, yeah, like, is he ineligible to play in games? Is he ineligible to be on the roster? Does Utah State, I should go check and see if he's still on the roster. Like, do they have to take him off the roster? Don't let him participate in practices at all? Like, what's compliance supposed to do? And I don't think the NCAA is going to try and police
Still on
this.
the roster as of right now.
Yeah, I don't think the NCAA is going to be that granular where they're going to go and look, oh, you have one of these guys on your roster online, so we're going to fine you or whatever. But, like, where's that line? Like, can you push the line by just keeping him at practice? Maybe not actively practicing, but still in team meetings and, like, all these different things. Like, that becomes a difficult thing for Utah State to handle because, like, what happens if because there's going to be another appeal by the plaintiffs in this case in Colorado. They're going to try and get this injunction reinstated with their own appeal. What happens if they win the next round? Well, then Bryson Taylor's back. So it's like we're going back and forth here. One day they have eligibility, the next day they don't. And it's what's made this an absolute complete mess.
It is. It is so messy. And there are athletes and teams caught in the middle trying to figure out, well, can we add to our roster or can't we? Some of these athletes are moving. They're finding new places to call their home. And they're trying to adjust to a new culture and a new system. But then they're told, now, wait a minute, maybe not. I mean, this is insane. Now, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, from what I understand, it from things that came up earlier when the NCAA was going to go to the 10th Circuit to appeal the Colorado ruling, calls for a higher level of evidence and to make your case. And so it's appearing that the 10th Circuit agrees that the level of evidence that was out there was insufficient for those claiming that there was harm in not getting this extra year. Now this isn't over.
Yeah,
so
that's
there's
the problem.
still more that can become of this.
That's the issue, is that it's not over. There's going to be appeals upon appeals upon appeals, and there's appeals for all these other lawsuits. So, like, there's going to be a bunch of athletes who are going to be going back and forth with eligibility, and there are sports already being played in college. You're starting with soccer. We've got volleyball coming up here soon. Football games will happen next weekend.
Well, next week we've got college football.
Next weekend there will be college football played. Week 0 games. 2 weeks from tomorrow. We're probably 2 weeks from yesterday because there's probably Thursday games. But yeah, a week from now you've got football. 2 weeks from now everybody's playing, and we're still figuring out whether or not players are eligible. And there's some blame to go with the NCAA because. I'll be honest. I don't know if the NCAA really has any real blame in this situation. They tried to make a fix to an issue that they saw, and they drew a line that they felt was reasonable, and a bunch of people got ticked off that they weren't on the right side of that line. When it's and I don't want to necessarily blame those people, because if I were in that situation, I'd be upset too. But I got to be honest, I'm not necessarily sympathizing with a lot of these athletes over the supposed harm suffered. Like, yeah, do I understand that they want to play again? Do I understand they want to make money? I can sympathize with that. But arguing that these players have been wronged, you don't really have much of a leg to stand on.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is we saw this here. MJ Collins, Colby King specifically, those guys are done. But Carson Templin, he's going to get another year. And so it just doesn't seem like, for me, I believe they should have grandfathered in those athletes. You grandfather them, it's going to slowly correct, and then it's going to be a non-issue. You had an opportunity to still give these players that opportunity because it would have applied to them 5 years to play 5. And for some who did not take a redshirt year, they started as freshmen, graduated as seniors. I think it was short-sighted for the NCAA.
Yeah, well, but why does it happen?
It would have resolved itself over years, and then you save yourself a ton of money, no legal fees, no legal challenges that drags it out and just pulls everything with athletics down into a courtroom with who knows what judge, what allegiance he might have, where he went to school, and how he's going to decide. The NCAA was just asking for trouble when they did it the way they did.
But there's no inherent reason why they had to include the class of 2025.
If you're going to make a rule that you have 5 years to play 5, then that could apply to me.
But the
I'm
new
going to get that year.
But the new rule starts in this summer after you've already graduated. You're no longer a college athlete. That's why there's no inherent reason that it should apply to them. It's merely proximity to the rule change. So, and again, I can understand why you, because of how close you were and because there are members of the class of 2025 who would have been playing. But to be honest, nobody in the class of 2022 would have been impacted by it at all. Some would have still been playing because they used a red shirt. Some wouldn't have been playing because they never used the red shirt. There's no inherent reason why it had to apply to the class of 2022. They're just saying, well, I barely missed the boat, but I'm going to make the boat come back for me because I want it to. There's no reason why it has to, why it's unfair, why it's wronging them, why they are being specifically harmed. You can't come up with, or at least I haven't thought of one. If somebody can come up with one, I'll stand corrected. But I cannot think of a single reason why they are specifically being wronged, spurned, harmed, anything, other than they are within proximity of the rule change. But that's not an argument.
And it would have granted them an extra year of eligibility.
Yeah, it would have benefited them, but there is no reason why they were entitled to that benefit.
It would have benefited them, and it would have benefited a lot of teams around the country.
Yeah, it would have. I'm not saying it wouldn't have benefited them. It would have been, and it's benefiting some people. But then why isn't someone who graduated in 2019 arguing they should have gotten a COVID year because they were in proximity to the year that had COVID, or someone who started in 2021? Why don't they get a COVID year? Your proximity to a rule change around eligibility does not entitle you to the benefits of that change to eligibility.
We got to take a time out. Love to get your thoughts, your feedback on this. It certainly affects one Utah State player. It affects a lot of players all over the country right now. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in, or drop us a comment in the YouTube chat. Quick time out. We'll be right back here on the Full Court Press.
Make sure to check out Live Young Rentals. They're officially up and rolling at Young Power Sports. You can rent street bikes, side-by-sides, and watercraft from brands like Polaris and Can-Am. Call 435-755-7111. You can rent the newest machines by the day or the weekend. And heck, it's the weekend. 1 hour till the weekend for most people.
Yes. Some it's already started.
For some, it's already started. So you can hit the trail, hit the road, the water, any of these things with Live Young Rentals.
Just don't hit me.
don't hit Eric. So we've got some texts and also some stuff on the YouTube chat. But before we dive back into those and dive back into this whole mess with eligibility and whatnot, we want to at least talk about something a little bit more positive.
Yes.
The top 25 Aggies of 2026. We need to reveal the next player. And we are up to number 6, are we not, Eric?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So let's introduce who that is and give our reactions to his ranking now here on the Full Court Press.
The Top 25 Aggies of 2026, presented by Cache Valley Media Group, continues with the next player to be revealed on the countdown of the best athletes for Utah State football for the upcoming season. Coming in at number 6 is offensive lineman Jimmy Liston. Liston transferred to Utah State last offseason and won the starting center job. He started 13 games at that position, logging 895 snaps played, second most on the team. Expectations are high for Liston going into 2026. He was named to a pair of awards watch list, the Remington Trophy given to the top center, and the Outland Trophy, which is awarded to the top interior offensive lineman. He was also named to the Pac-12 preseason first team by Phil Steele and Athlon.
Jimmy Liston. I mean, he's a dude.
That was a long list of awards and preseason
He's on
honors
a lot of
and whatnot.
lists.
Couple of watch lists. He's on the good watch lists.
Yes. Yes.
And then a couple of preseason all conference things. And so it's like he was a really solid center last year. Didn't get a ton of accolades at the end of last year. Like Utah State struggles as an offensive line overall, kind of holds everyone back. But coming into this season, Jimmy Liston, there's a lot of expectations. He's a returner. He's now got some experience. He hadn't played a full season before last year. So now he's played a full season at center, coming back, and he'll be an anchor on that interior offensive line and is, at least by our voters' indication, and I would agree with the voters, the best interior offensive lineman for the Aggies. I should double check, make sure that reflects my ballot. I think it does.
He was a unanimous selection. Everybody had him on their ballots. And when you've got a great center, you're going to have a great offense. And Jimmy Liston has a lot more experience, had experience at Purdue, but he was looking for a fresh start. And he's got that at Utah State. And he's growing in his role as a leader, but also on how he can be effective on the field. We've heard good things about him. And I've enjoyed the conversations that I've had with him last year and this year. This is a very smart guy who is focused on the right things when it comes to football and proper execution with his teammates.
Yeah, and it's an incredibly important position. You know, the center, obviously, there's the most visible thing he does, which is snap the ball to the quarterback, make sure you get that one down properly. But then the difficulty of that position, because you have to snap the ball and get your hands up to block. A lot of times they're the ones who are kind of quarterbacking the offensive line, so to speak. So there's a lot that goes into that position. That's why it can be really difficult to play for a number of reasons. It's not as easy as left and right guards will swap back and forth all the time. Left and right tackles, there can be a little bit more difficulty swapping between those because there's a little bit of different muscle memory in some of those cases. But while left and right guards will tend to be the ones who might switch over to center, it's a lot more difficult to swap from right guard to center than it is from right guard to left guard or vice versa.
Right. Yes.
It's a learned position.
Yeah. So excited to see Jimmy Liston help that offensive line where there is some experience around him, and trying to continue to develop that and develop more depth on the offensive line. But having an experienced guy in the middle makes a real big difference.
Yeah, and just the entire interior offensive line, like that's something that can really help, I think, especially with the run game, but then also preventing pressure from coming up the middle, because you tend to look at pressure that comes from the outside. your edge rushers. But Utah State also has had problems at times with allowing pressure right up the middle, which isn't always like noticed as much in terms of how it impacts. Because like if you're a quarterback, maybe you're not getting sacked by the defensive tackle, but if that defensive tackle has put your center in your lap, that impacts your throw. It makes you overthrow it slightly or underthrow. Again, it'll just kind of impact it because maybe you're not as comfortable pushing off and getting your full technique into the throw. You're not comfortable kind of in your landing spot, so to speak. And so it can affect the technique of your throw. It can impact the timing of throws because you feel rushed and so you're throwing it early. So there's a lot of things with the interior offensive line that just kind of go unnoticed.
Yeah, because it's highly technical.
Yeah.
People think it's just stand up and just hold the guys from rushing the quarterback, but it's way more than that. So Jimmy Liston rightfully deserved in that top 10 of our top 25 Aggies for 2026.
Yeah, and we've got 3 interior offensive linemen. Of course, there are the 3 returners on the O-line. They're all in the top 15 of the top 25 Aggies of 2026. 2 of them in the top 10.
Let's get back to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line and some of the comments in the YouTube chat. This came in a little bit earlier from 4446. Why aren't CV Daily, or why isn't CV Daily streaming games on YouTube anymore? Because we continue to produce and live stream high school football games or high school sports on Cache Valley Daily. We broadcast those on local radio. We were utilizing YouTube as our streaming platform for several years, but several different times ran into problems with YouTube, and they were not easy to work with.
Yeah,
in fact, we couldn't find people who would work with us.
Yeah, essentially.
So we went with something that we felt was more secure with protecting our own products and not having it disappear on a whim.
YouTube has had issues with wrongfully taking down channels. And when they take down your channel, there's essentially zero recourse.
Heaven help you in trying to get it back.
Because you try and appeal it, it gets automatically denied.
Because they're bots. You can't actually reach and talk to an actual human.
Yeah.
If we could have talked to an actual human, we'd probably still be on YouTube and it'd be fine.
Thing is, technically, through a roundabout way, we actually did kind of get to connect to a human, and it was
only because somebody knew somebody.
Yeah, but there's a hesitancy to go back to YouTube because what if it happens all again? And then we lose our entire backlog of replays. We lose the channel, which a lot of times our channels would get taken down on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And what on earth are we about to do to broadcast 6 games on Friday?
Yeah.
Like that. And so we had to take some desperate last second measures a couple of years ago because our YouTube channels kept getting taken down. So there's maybe a path for us to go back to YouTube, but again, it's just kind of this worry now in the back of our head. It's something we could do, likely resolve, but again, it's that you burned us pretty bad once, and now we're not sure if we can trust that again.
So all those are all the games that we produce are on Cache Valley Daily. We use Vimeo as our partner, and when you go, if you want a particular school that you're interested in, it's called a showcase. And you can see all those games involving that school underneath the current broadcast. So it's a great way. It's a lot easier to archive and find previous games. So at least I hope it's easier for some folks. I know there was a certain ease of use and finding YouTube and
YouTube
searching and discovery, but
it has an ease of use, but it had the enormous
security was an issue.
Yeah,
securing our product.
Yeah. That's kind of the issue there.
8968 texting in. This is about the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. Sports in general have loaded with garbage, and that's getting close to forget it and let it die. Sorry, guys.
It's why college sports is getting harder to enjoy for a lot of people. I still enjoy it, but I can understand why a lot of people are just kind of fed up with it. And you're seeing pro sports growing in a big way. People still watch college sports. It used to be
you weren't sure 1 year to the next how things might change, but we've gotten to 1 day to the next, 1 week to the next. We don't know how sports are going to change.
And that's where it's really hard for people to find the same satisfaction in college sports, where if you go to pro sports, they have their problems, but none of them are league integrity. Well, actually, the NBA might have a league integrity problem with the Clippers, but what's the worst thing that's happening in the NFL this offseason? Maybe somebody gets arrested, a head coach had an affair. like really, what's the worst thing that's really happening as far as threatening the integrity of the league? Like, I don't know, ESPN laying off people yet again. The worst thing you have to deal with the NFL is like Pat McAfee. Oh no, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot of comfort in pro sports. With the NBA, if you can kind of ignore the Clippers scandals, I know there's kind of some weird things here, but it's like, are you annoyed with LeBron? Are you annoyed by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander flopping? Like, that's the worst thing you got to deal with in the NBA. Like, Adam Silver's a bit of a nerd. Like,
Yeah.
in college sports, you can't even figure out what your roster is because you don't know who on your roster is eligible
From day to day.
So like that's like, and again, people still watch college sports because they love it. But if you keep having all of this stuff happen year after year after year, decade after, like if we go on for another decade of this and having to deal with like Protect College Sports Act, spending year after year begging Congress to save you, but then Congress, because it's completely inept, might never get a bill through. Like, if you go for 1 or 2 decades of this crap, you are going to lose people. An entire generation will skip watching college and just watch the pros. And so you're not going to see any short-term ramifications. People aren't going to randomly turn off the channel because of all this crap, but it will wear on them.
It starts to have a negative growing effect.
Yeah, they're not going to take their kids to the games. Again, it's this knock-on effect of there will not be ramifications for league popularity in the next 3 to 5 years. But if it becomes a problem that goes on beyond those 3 to 5 years and 10 to 15, then in those 10 to 15, 20 years, you are going to have a diminished product, or more accurately, a product that doesn't grow nearly as much as it should in that time.
Yeah, potentially. A couple more texts we need to get to. 1818. If they would have allowed the class of 2022, you would bet the class of 2021 would have filed the play.
Yeah, you've had a lot of people that say, hey,
that may have been true, but that number of athletes who it could apply to would be much less significant than the class of 2022.
Yeah, and they would have gotten maybe a little less sympathy because there's even less proximity. But again, the class of 2022 has almost as much argument, or barely more argument, than the class of 2021 for why they should be applying for this, because there are people in the class of 2021 that are still in college for one reason or another.
Let's go to 9315. If I was a player, all this confusion, uncertainty, or unknown would make it hard to be all in when it comes to the school I'm a part of and staying focused in practice.
Yeah, like heaven help Bryson Barnes what he's dealing with. Like, is he supposed to go to class now? Does he drop out of school again? Or not again, but like, because he theoretically, I hope
Does he stay in Logan?
I hope he was
by
able
chance
to,
this comes back.
Yeah, I hope he was able to graduate. But I think he's from Atlanta. Does he move back to Atlanta? Like, what did he have to give up? Like, what jobs post college did he give up to come play at Utah State? What risks did he take? Mind you, those were risks that he had to know that there was a risk. Like, he knew that the Colorado ruling was being appealed. That's a risk he took, but you still feel bad for a guy when you take a risk I know I kind of critiqued these guys for maybe being almost greedy, but like, I can still feel for a guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be this heartless, I'm on one side and you get what you deserve, but like, again, there's nuance to this whole thing.
And then to YouTube, on the YouTube chat, Braden Clark, there's going to be players who
are active for a few weeks, then inactive the following.
Yeah, who are active for a few weeks and inactive the following. But if this happens, are teams penalized for playing a few weeks before?
I don't think they will be, because we saw this with Alabama basketball where they played, I forget what's his name, the center that they got. He played like 3 games or something like that. Alabama wasn't penalized for that. So I don't think the NBA or the NCAA is going to get vindictive over this. They're just going to be like,
at the time it appeared to be eligible, and then it changed. As long as you pull the player after the eligibility thing happens,
like, it's not worth their trouble to make someone vacate a win because their second string defensive tackle played 10 snaps and he became ineligible the next week. It's like, that's
you want to really alienate all of your members real fast.
To them, it's just about trying to get eligibility right. There's no reason for them to chase all this extra stuff. I know there was the one comment from like Jeff Goodman shared something he heard from someone who's apparently on the NCAA like tournament selection committee, who was like, yeah, we might keep a team out that's like on the bubble or whatnot, or drop them a seed line if they have one of these players. It's like, oh boy, you really should not have said that out loud.
Don't say that. And
agreed to because Jeff could probably got that in a text, was like, can I share this? You should have said no. You should have said no.
All right, we got to take a time out here on the Full Court Press. So when we come back, let's talk some football. Utah State soccer with a Pac-12 after dark game.
Well, it started before dark.
Started before dark, but finished after dark. So we'll see how the Aggies did. We'll hear from them as well coming up after this time out on the Full Court Press. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, talking eligibility. It's a crazy mess.
It is. It's
10th Circuit Court of Appeals.
We need to take one of these walls and just make a giant conspiracy board.
Who's eligible today or not?
Maybe put it right behind me where we've got the Spectrum Magic shirt and whatnot, just like so you can see it in the background. We can update it every day. It's like, here's the list of players who have become eligible. Here are the list of players who have become ineligible. So
last night, Utah State soccer hosting Portland. Utah State looking for their first win on the season. And after a loss on the road at a nationally ranked Kansas team, a draw at home against Michigan, a team they should have beaten. And so team was still looking for their first win, and looks like they finally got it last night, Jason.
They did. I was able to attend that one. I was a little too lazy to make it out to the Michigan game. I really wanted my Sunday evening, so I just watched it at home. Made it out to this Portland game, and it was a good one. The Aggies get their 2 goals. The offense looked great. They get 11 shots, 4 on goal. The first goal was a bit lucky. Kunie Hirai, who I should mention was the birthday girl on the night.
Oh, yes.
She got a goal. Her first one where it was a cross in and she kind of chunked it, but then it like bounced and then it kind of hit the Portland goalkeeper, mishandled it. It kind of rolls off her shoulder and goes into the back of the net. So they get the first goal that way, but then just you worry a little bit. Are they going to be able to get another one? Because they struggled a little bit the rest of the half, but they still got 6 shots in the first half, created some chances, just didn't finish any of the other ones. Then in the second half, they get a really solid goal. Kay Unetta sent in an amazing cross from, she was honestly only about 20 yards away from me. I was sitting in the bleachers. And she sends a cross way into the box. Samantha Sellers gets on the other end of it, and bam, right into the back of the net. Beautiful play. So they were able to capitalize on that as well. And Capriel Winder, actually, she was involved in both of those goals. She got a secondary assist on the second goal. She had the primary assist on the Kunie Hirai goal. So she got a couple assists there. So yeah, the Aggies, good offense. And then I think, as we talked about yesterday, kind of previewing this game, defense. They held Portland without a shot in the first half. In the second half, Portland did get 5 shots. 1 was on goal. But really, they had like one real scoring chance, and it was the shot on goal, where you had to get a good save from Ivy Nystrom, who actually subbed in. She replaced Ali Grashoff in net, and she had a decent debut where she got the one solid save, had a good reaction save. But like Utah State kept Portland from creating real scoring chances and got the shutout, and especially in a crucial second half where Portland was pushing hard to get that equalizer and then maybe to try and come back from that 2-0 deficit when they went down 2-0. So it was a good effort by Utah State defensively, and that was probably the more important aspect of this game, was reestablishing their defensive form, because their offense wasn't really the problem against Michigan, and it wasn't even a problem in this game. The defense was the thing they really needed to take a step forward on.
Well, let's focus a little bit more on the offense. Let's hear from the birthday girl who actually scored one of the early goals, Kunie Hirai. You had a chance to catch up with her after the match and to hear what she had to say last night.
I guess just first off, birthday girl, birthday goal. Have you ever had a goal on your birthday before?
Maybe like in club, but not anytime recently.
Just what was that like? And obviously, just that it's kind of a weird goal in the first half. Goalkeeper kind of mishandles it, but still, you put it on frame and good things happen. Just walk us through that for that first goal.
I think, like I said, Manny talks a lot about being in the right spaces. Cap gave me such a great ball, and I was just trying to be in a position to give me the best shot, and didn't make the best contact on it. Maybe got a little bit lucky, but I think that we put together really good play, and we were handling the ball really well, so it worked.
Just, I mean, how much depth do you guys have up top today? I mean, there are women that played a lot in past years that are coming off the bench now. It's just, I mean, how deep is this team up top?
So deep. I think it's the best when people come on and just raise the level, and we just keep getting better and better. I think we have so much depth. The girls up top, I love, like, my absolute favorite thing is when people come on and you can just watch the level just raise, and I think we just all work really well together. We all have such a love for each other, and I just love this team, so it's really cool.
How much did that depth really help in the second half where you guys controlled possession for most of the second half? I mean, they had like 5 or 6 players in the first half play all 45. You guys had like 2 or 3. How much did that really help, having that depth?
It helps so much, being able to trust each other and know that the people that are coming on later in the game have the same amount of strength and the same amount of energy, and just knowing that they have your back and that we're going to keep that level up is really cool. It's just like we have such a good trust in each other, and I think it's just awesome.
What adjustments did you make managing the match with the lead that you weren't unable to do against Kansas?
I think just trying to keep our heads and keep our composure. We knew that Portland's a really good team, and it's going to be a battle, and it's going to be really physical, and I think we just wanted it a lot. I think we have such a great environment here, and it gives us such motivation to keep pushing. I think that's what set the stage.
Kunie, beside all the technical stuff, take me inside of your head. You kick the ball, you think it's a save, you turn around, and then you hear it is a goal. What is your first thought?
I was shocked, to be honest. But in the Michigan game, Cap had like possibly even a better ball to me, and it hit like somehow both the crossbar and the post, and we watched it in film so many times, and we were just like, we're gonna get it. And so to finally like get that ball and having it come from Cap was a really cool experience.
Who on the team do you feel like is your right hand man in the executions of getting those goals?
I think everyone. I think that's the coolest part, is that we have so much depth. I think Tao can play such good balls from the left. Cap obviously is playing great balls from the right. I have Sam and Maya coming down that side. I have Kate. Like, it's just, you're surrounded by such amazing people, and it just makes it so much more fun for me.
There she is, birthday girl, and Utah State celebrating the win, getting a much-needed win, but also solid defense in the process as well.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
All right, we got to take a quick time out here in the Full Court Press. We'll be right back here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. At Napa Auto Parts, you can save $15 a pair on Rain-X premium wiper blades. Even help put them on while you wait. Find all kinds of great deals in store. Multiple locations between Preston and Providence. Napa Auto Parts. So just a reminder, if you want to weigh in, always love to hear from you. 435-339-0321 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. Or you can drop in a question or a comment in the YouTube chat. And I got this text coming in from 8968. I will always be an Aggie fan and follow them along with the local high school teams. And of course, full court press. I've never been much of a pro fan. And I get that. That's fair. But the changing world of sports it's hard to keep up with. So all these changes seem every day there's something new, especially with college athletics. But really quickly, did notice there's a site called Pair Ratings, and they look at a lot of statistical analysis to come up with different ratings for baseball, college football, a couple other sports, and looking at a few different things that try to rank teams based on different statistical analysis. And they today put together their G6 college football pair. So the non-Power 4 conference teams, how would they all rank if you were to group them all together and do a top 25 of just those teams? This isn't the first time we've seen something like this. We've highlighted a few other publications that have done something similar, but we got Boise State at number 1, UNLV at number 2, but there's a sizable gap in statistical data between Boise and UNLV. San Diego State comes in at number 5. Washington State at number 10 on this list. Fresno State at 12. Texas State at 17. And Utah State makes this list at number 23. And Utah State future opponent Troy coming in at number 24. So kind of an interesting list. Some other Mountain West schools, we mentioned UNLV at number 2. You have to go down a ways before you find New Mexico at number 16. Hawaii at 18, Air Force at 19. So all kind of grouped close together there. And then there was another publication here just today. It was The Athletic put together their group of 6 playoff predictions. And they've got Boise State as their front runner out of the group of 6 as the Mountain West champion. They are predicting that it's going to be New Mexico that'll beat UNLV, the Mountain West title game. So kind of an interesting detail there about what they're thinking about the group of 6, the Mountain West, and the Pac-12. At least that's what you can see on The Athletic. Well, stick around next hour. Still a lot more to get to here on the Full Court Press. It's a busy Friday night. We had one game last night from our local teams. How did that go? We'll call out for the bread and butter play of the game. So if you recall what that was last night. And then who else is playing? We got some interesting rivalry games on the docket, so stay tuned. That's coming up next on the Full Court Press. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's a Friday here on the Full Court Press. Congratulations, you made it to Friday. The weekend is upon us. And hopefully you got some great plans for this weekend, though. I understand that if you're in Box Elder County, those friends in Tremonton area, some grass fires over there spreading, just getting some details. And so be careful. There is an area by Harley Drive. Residents there are being asked to evacuate. This is according to Garland Fire Department. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that and hope that local personnel can get to that quickly and get that taken care of. But we'll continue to keep an eye on that. So be careful. I know there's a big football game there in Garland and Tremonton today. We'll get into that in just a minute, but certainly people's safety is the most important that we want to kind of keep an eye on. So anyway, we'll try to continue to keep a monitor on that situation, let you know what else could be taking place with that. But we'll still try to talk about a couple other things going on. I know there's a football game, as mentioned, there in Tremonton, a big one, Golden Spike rivalry. It's one of the most historic rivalries in high school football in the state of Utah. And another interesting Valley rivalry. I don't know if it's much of a rivalry because they don't play each other very often, but could be an interesting one to watch. We'll tell you about that. And other games on the schedule today. We had one game on the schedule last night for one of our local teams. It was here on the Fan that we had. That we were able to broadcast. Had some audio issues on the video stream, but we were broadcasting the play-by-play over the radio. And so we'll call out for the bread and butter play of the game and see if anybody heard that and can reply and if they caught what it was. And so stay tuned for that. That's coming up a little bit later on in the show. But let's get through like what happened first last night, and it was the Skyview Bobcats. They were in action. They were at Morgan. You know, Skyview was a team that played well in their first game. It was a nail biter in their game against Park City, and it went down to the wire. But Skyview got it done. They were able to get the win. And see how they could build on that this coming week. Morgan was a team that battled against Ridgeline, but struggled in that game. So if you went off of last week's games alone, then there was some thought that, okay, maybe Skyview could have an interesting matchup with Morgan, maybe a little bit evenly matched. We'll see. And Morgan's always a tough team in 3A, but Skyview just showed that they could beat a tough team in their opener with Park City. But it didn't quite go that way, unfortunately. Skyview opens up with a pick six. There was a fumble early on. Morgan just capitalized, and they took the momentum and held on to it and just kept steamrolling it. In fact, we had a mercy rule game last night in Morgan. Morgan just had the momentum and did not relinquish. Skyview could never really get things going. They ended up having to call the game early, losing the game 47-40, and so rough game for the Bobcats, and just not able to really get things going. Not a lot of positive things that went their way. They did have some things that worked out well. They did have a fumble recovery in the third quarter. They did some things to try to put themselves into some position, but just never really could capitalize and never could score. So unfortunately, they get shut out on the road at Morgan last night. So they get a little extra time this week to try to prepare for another game on the road when they go to Spanish Fork. So a tough loss there for the Skyview Bobcats in their game last night. But other games going on tonight. Let's get through the other games. As mentioned, a big rivalry game going on in Box Elder County. It's the Golden Spike rivalry between Bear River and Box Elder. The game tonight is at Bear River. And Box Elder's coming, driving up a little bit north to take on to take on the Bears. Box Elder last week, they had a mercy rule game, but they were on the positive side of it. Bear River, they were able to go down to Ogden and beat the Tigers and have a solid opening for their season, but can always be tough taking on the Bees. But as we've mentioned before many different times, it's a new coach in town for Bear River, very experienced coach, and we'll just see how much that momentum is building in Bear River with Coach Ander at the helm. But that game will be on 104.9 The Ranch. At least we hope. There is this fire that is kind of in the area of one of our broadcast towers, so we're monitoring that closely. Hopefully it doesn't affect that, or some of the people who may want to be attending the game, of course. But you can also check it out on CashValleyDaily.com. Trent Carter and Josh Tyre on the call, as we've had a long time, decades of covering the Bear River Bears, and excited for that tradition to continue on Cache Valley Daily and on 104.9 The Ranch. One of the other games that we're going to keep an eye on, well, last week, everybody won. All the teams that we follow, they all won. So we'll see how they can build on that. Or we hope what happened to Skyview isn't an omen for what's going to happen to everybody else tonight. But the rest of the schedule is going to be as follows. Green Canyon, they are hosting Springville tonight. So the Red Devils are in North Logan. And the Wolves had a tough game against Provo, but again, they pulled that one out late. That was a real defensive game, struggled offensively. Both teams did, but Green Canyon got that win last week. So they take on Springville tonight. And that game will be on 100.9 Light FM with Stockton Jukes and Taylor Davis on the call for that one. And this is a Green Canyon team that found themselves in the state championship last year, and trying to find a way to get back to something like that again this season. But they're taking on Springville tonight in North Logan. So 100.9 Light FM, that's a radio home, but also video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com tonight. For the Logan High Grizzlies, now Jason Walker's not here in studio with us anymore because he is making his way north. He and Josh Anderson are headed to Preston, as Logan High is going to be taking on the Indians at Preston. So Logan had a nice showing last week. How do they build on that? As a new coach there, Coach Hughie, trying to build some momentum, trying to build some success. Preston's got kind of a new coach, from what I understand. So some new traditions building there. But big showdown in Preston tonight, and that'll be on KVNU, 102.1 FM, 610 AM. You'll also have that video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. Ridgeline went to take on Morgan in Morgan, but that game got moved to Weber State. Their track wasn't quite finished. They had to relocate the game. It was still a road game. It was away for Ridgeline no matter what. And so tonight's going to be their first home game of the season, and they'll face a team that already has made the trip up to the north part of the state and made life difficult, but lost in their opener. That's Park City. Park City played at Skyview last week, lost that game, but it was an overtime game. It was an exciting finish, and Park City plays tough. Ridgeline, a team that gave away points on offense and gave away 14 points against Morgan. Can they clean that up? Can they be more efficient on offense and certainly more efficient on defense? Well, they were very efficient on defense. Morgan didn't get any offensive scores until late in the game, but this is a Park City team that plays tough, slows it down, grinds it out, and so this could be a really interesting matchup tonight for the Riverhawks against the Miners, and that'll be on 104.5 The Ranch. Dave Simmons on the call and video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. And then the other team we get to see for the first time this season is the Mountain Crest Mustangs. We weren't able to follow the Mustangs down to the new school, Deer Creek, down at around Heber, but they're taking on a school that's also from that area, Wasatch. Wasatch is making the trip north to take on the Mustangs. And our first look at what this Mustang team looks like this season, and that's going to be on 107.7 FM, video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. Cody Olson and John Olson are teaming up to be on the call for that one. So Skyview is 1-1. Everybody else is 1-0. But we'll see what happens for the rest of these games tonight. Certainly, I think Bear River has a tall order in front of them. At Green Canyon and Springville could be interesting. But Mountain Crest and Wasatch is another team that can sometimes be really good, and sometimes you're not real sure what you're going to get. But regardless, I think a lot of these games on the schedule are fascinating tonight to see what happens with Region 11, but also 3A North with the Logan High Grizzlies. Because Logan and Preston, two historic schools. There's a long history for both of their programs, but not necessarily a lot of history of them playing each other, which is a bit surprising. But glad to see them playing each other and having that on the schedule. So a lot of interesting games. Certainly the big rivalry in Box Elder County with Bear River and Box Elder is certainly one of the big highlights. And they've got their county fair coming up here soon this next week. But this kind of kicks off some of those events for that. But it's a long established rivalry. Excited to see how that plays out. But a lot of different ways to follow these games. As mentioned, there's ways to watch these games on Cache Valley Daily. You can listen to these games on a variety of our local radio stations. And if you're not sure like how to follow or which teams are playing where or on which radio stations to tune in, just go to Cache Valley Daily. All the details are there for the games that are on the schedule this week. You can go back and you can watch the Skyview game from last night if you're so inclined. However, there was an audio issue with our broadcast crew, so the video is there, but there's no audio. So unfortunately, that did not come through. But fingers crossed that everything goes well today for our friends calling high school games throughout the area. So the farthest team on the road really tonight is Logan heading up to Preston. Everybody else is home. Of course, Skyview was on the road last night, but for games tonight, they're home games all around. And even Logan's not that far away. Fans of the Grizzlies could easily make the drive to Preston to cheer on their favorite team if they so desire, if they want to do that. So let's do this. Since I'm flying solo, it's going to be hard to man the phones and do other things that we would normally do and calling for the bread and butter play of the game. So I'm going to ask for you to use the text line for the bread and butter play of the game from the Skyview game last night. And by the way, 9315 saying, how come you guys don't use the Ajay clip for the bread and butter play of the game anymore of him trying to say bread and butter? Yeah, I'll have to try to resurrect that somehow. But if you recall what that play was for the Skyview Bobcats, I know there weren't very many plays that were positive for Skyview, unfortunately, but they did have some good plays here and there. If you can recall and correctly identify which one was designated as the bread and butter play of the game, courtesy of Old Grist Mill, then we'll hook you up with some free bread. 435-339-0321. Text in, let us know what that play was, and the first person to correctly identify gets that free bread, free loaves of bread from the Old Grist Mill. So exciting night tonight for these different teams as we're into week 2 for high school football. And we'll have scoreboards later on tonight and opportunities to go back and watch different games and photo galleries of these games after their conclusion as well. So stay tuned for a lot of that. I wanted to shift to a little bit. We had an opportunity to talk about some soccer last night. We didn't get to all the things that we had prepared because the eligibility stuff kind of took precedence and got a little bit bigger with the listener reactions. But I want to go back, and Jason had the opportunity to visit with head coach Manny Martins, and Utah State got their first.
I guess just.
There we go. Got to get the video stream right. But he was able to catch up with, and we heard from the birthday girl last night, and that was Kunie Hirai. She was the first goal scorer for the Utah State Aggies, but we didn't get a chance to hear from head coach Manny Martins, and he was able to. Jason was able to catch up with him after the game, and and ask him about Utah State Aggies getting their first win of the season, and certainly doing with a solid defense to help lead the way last night with Pac-12 After Dark for the Utah State women's soccer and their win over Portland.
Well, I mean, it was another step forward in the right direction. As we know, first game, we were not like ourselves. I thought we took major strides going into the last game, but obviously wasn't a complete performance. And then today it was another step forward. I mean, it's another really good team that we held without a shot for beyond the first half. A team that's really organized. They don't give up much. It's very hard to get chances against them in a run of play. They typically, if they're going to give up a goal, it's on a set piece or transition. We're able to not only have 2 goals, but I feel like we created another 2 or 3. Really, really proud of the group for the performance today.
As you look at the offense, I know first game you got shut out by a good Kansas team, but last 2 games you guys have created a lot of chances. You got 4 goals in the last 2 games. Just how do you feel the offense is coming along these first 3 games?
Yeah, no, really proud. Again, first game is kind of an outlier, but it was great to see. We're starting to create a lot. We have multiple people, different people scoring goals. I mean, it was awesome to really start to tap into our depth in a way that allows us to sustain the level. So yeah, really, really happy. I mean, obviously, we always want more, and I think that over the last couple of games, we've created enough to maybe have another 2 or 3 goals in there. So we're going to keep striving to see if we can be more efficient.
Samantha Sailors was really wreaking havoc down that left flank there. So how nice was it to see her rewarded with the goal there?
Oh,
really perfect cross.
Yeah, it was perfect. And, some of the stuff we've been working on, she executed perfectly in that moment. Sometimes, a goal off a service may look like, just in the right place at the right time. But it's one of those where you're in the right place all the time, then you'll be there in the right place at the right time. And that's exactly what she did. But as you said, she deserved it because she created a lot of problems for them. And because of her, we probably could have had another 1 or 2.
With the defense, obviously the 4 goals in 2 games. I know the Michigan ones are kind of weird because they're just kind of bang plays.
Yes.
But just getting a shutout here. They allowed 3 goals in the second half of those first 2 games. It was nice seeing some clutch defense.
Yes.
Against Portland in the second half.
Yes. No, it was great. Again, I thought our back line, showed the experience and maturity. I mean, some of them are still relatively young as sophomores and whatnot, but with the amount of time that they got last year, the experience starting to show. It was great for Ivy as well. I thought she did a fantastic job of managing the game, even though she didn't have a ton to do. She did a fantastic job of knowing when to slow it down, how to manage it so that, we didn't get ourselves under pressure situations. So altogether, the back line and the goalkeeper did a great job.
You make the switch to Ivy. Just kind of one of that. Are you going to see both Ivy and Allie just kind of splitting goalkeeper, or is this going to be a more second change?
We'll take it one day at a time. It's one of those things that we're very fortunate to have this depth that we can make this change. Again, today was meant for Ivy, and she did great. So we'll go back and analyze the film and figure out the scout and make a decision on who needs to play on Monday. But either way, we'll be fine with either of them.
Was it planned beforehand to have these kind of swaps during the early season?
No, it's never. For me, it's never that way. We establish, through preseason, a depth chart, and then obviously depending on demands and whatnot, we know their traits and qualities, and based on demands, we make changes as needed.
You really shut them down in the run of play. Clearly, it seemed like they were trying to win corners. They did win quite a few today.
Yes.
So how valuable of a match was this for you in corner kick defending?
It was great. We knew that they would be dangerous on set pieces because I feel like a lot of what they create in terms of scoring was on set pieces. So we planned accordingly, and I thought the players executed very, very nice. They only had one that dropped, and we had to block a shot. Aside from that, I thought we handled it really well.
I was just going to say, you got rid of your ghost from the past, that loss against Portland last year. What do you feel like was different this time that you didn't have last year?
Well, for one, when we played them last year, was our 3rd game in 9 days. So we were on the tail end of that, and we traveled. But also, we didn't have quite the same depth that we have now. So today, we were really able to, get into our depth. And that, I mean, obviously we closed the game, with players that came on and really made a difference for us. So depth and the fact that we weren't on the tail end of 3 games. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
This one quick one, just after 3 games, what are the biggest things you've learned about your team?
Well, for one, we're resilient. A team like us, and humility is an important part of what we do as a program, but we also not oblivious to the fact that what we've done over recent years, has established some expectations, in the department, in the community, and we appreciate that. But sometimes when you have expectations and things don't go well, it's easy to maybe put your head down or get nervous, start to have doubts. And this group hasn't had any doubts. They understand that sports is like that. Sometimes things don't bounce your way, but we have to stay objective in figuring out, okay, what were the things we needed to get better? And we have focused on that. We've gotten better, and the results falling for us. Well, I mean, it was
Soccer coach Manny Martins after Utah State beat Portland 2-0 last night and on Chuck and Gloria Bell Field, getting a nice win, nice bounce back win, good defensive win for the Aggies, and so yeah, it was Manny Martins and that crew getting their a solid win. Good, got some good offense, got some definitely solid defense, and in a timely manner because they've got Utah Valley and then Utah, the next games that they will face next week. Both are pretty solid soccer programs. So good win for them, and nice comments there from Coach Manny Martins describing his team and the depth and kind of the lessons learned from the first couple of games to start the 2026 campaign. Before we hit a timeout, just want to get back to our bread and butter play of the game, and congratulations. It was 6-5-4-3, correctly identifying it first. It was Skyview's fumble recovery early in the third quarter, and that was certainly one of the few highlights that Skyview had for their game. Unfortunately, in their loss at Morgan last night, as they struggled in that one, but there was a nice defensive play that took place early in the third quarter that looked like maybe this will start something. It's trying to flip the field here, trying to flip momentum, but unfortunately not able to maintain and control that game for them. So congratulations to 6-5-4-3. We'll have some free bread for you at our front offices. We've got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press, but when we come back, interesting article in ESPN talking about, and a lot of conversations with Teresa Gould and a few others within the Pac-12 about its reinvention, really. This conference that's been around for 100 years, but also trying to reinvent itself and position itself in the new college athletics landscape. So a few nuggets from there I wanted to pull, as it's written by Kyle Bonagura, how the rebuilt Pac-12 looks to be in a tier of its own. So that's coming up next here on the Full Court Press. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. And thanks for tuning in, being part of the program. Talking about what's going on in sports. Congratulations. Let's get into 6543, correctly identifying the Old Gristmill bread and butter play of the game. Stay tuned for every Skyview football broadcast, and that will be called out, an opportunity to win some free bread. I know Logan High does something similar, so just FYI, if you want some free bread, you might want to listen to Jason Walker's broadcast tonight. And then tune in on Monday morning on KVNU to try to win some bread. An interesting article in ESPN written by Kyle Bonagura about the Pac-12, and this is one where clearly spent a lot of time building this feature article about Teresa Gould, about the conference, what it's gone through over the last few years, losing teams, rebuilding, trying to survive and hold a staff together and hold the conference together, and then rebuilding it, then the legal challenges with the Mountain West. And it's not to rehash necessarily the legal wranglings between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West or some of the schools, but kind of just a look at what they've gone through with their people and what their vision is and how they feel like this could move forward for them. And a couple of things that really stood out to me, and that the conference really worked to preserve its assets. Certainly its TV, production facilities, its history, things like that, and its workforce, basically its personnel. But one of the things that also stood out from the reporting says that the new Pac-12 wants to be viewed as the strongest conference outside of the sport's 4 richest leagues, compete regularly for college football playoff access, generate enough revenue and convince fans, recruits, and the rest of college sports that this version of the conference matters. So, really trying to position itself in, as I mentioned earlier, that it's in a tier of its own. It's not yet a Power 4 conference or an autonomous 4, some people like to refer, and it's not like the group of 6 kind of fighting for the scraps. They want to be somewhere in between. They want to be the top conference that's not among the group of 4, the autonomous 4. And went back to get her thoughts about the conference's thoughts about why did they target these specific schools. Now, there were 4 originally for the Mountain West, and then Utah State was the 5th about a week and a half later. And it says Pac-12 leaders have emphasized that the new membership was assembled deliberately with an eye towards schools they believe are willing to invest and capable of competing at a higher national level. And then here's the quote from Gould. She says, "This was a move about institutional trajectory, not just athletic trajectory. They wanted to be aligned with other institutions that want to invest, that want to compete at the highest level." And that includes Utah State, obviously. And they were a little bit slower to get Utah State in that mix, but eventually the invitation did come and the Aggies were positioned to say yes and to make that move. But looking at its collection of teams, not just in literal investment with dollars, but also are they successful? Do they yield results? And over the past 5 seasons, it's a strong group of teams that have generally won games and positioned themselves well and have done a nice job in football particularly. And then another point says Pac-12 leaders say they believe establishing themselves as a clear number 5 league carries practical value with recruits, fans, and media partners. And so I don't know, that's still yet to be determined what exactly that means about being the clear number 5 league. I think that's probably more carries more weight for media partners than it probably does for fans, maybe for some recruits. But I think its highest value is in telling the story among media partners, that we've got the better value, we've got the better properties that perform at a higher level, and they deserve more eyeballs. And so as a natural connection to that is higher media opportunities and payouts. Another comment from Teresa Gould. We certainly expect to be in the CFP conversation, college football playoff conversation, and have access to that kind of non-A4 spot year in and year out. And certainly one of the biggest keys to that is the flex schedule, which is highly unique. And you don't see that anywhere else. And it's not just about the interesting thing about the flex schedule is it's not just about trying to get a team, the top team in the best position to get into the college football playoff, but it can also be used for other things like getting maybe an opportunity to get more teams into bowl games. Maybe you've got 2, 5, and 6 teams with that's their record. You don't want them to play each other per se because that's going to help one but hurt the other. But is there another matchup you could create for those teams to get them to bowl eligibility, whereas maybe they weren't going to get there before? And the flex game does not count for who gets to go to the conference championship game. It's not a conference game on the record, so it counts as a non-conference game. So there's some really interesting things with this flex schedule in the final week of the regular season. We know who will be home. We know who will be away. There's a tentative plan, but it is subject to change. Now, that is how they decide and how they determine what that change looks like is not known. And the Pac-12 is kind of reserving the right to not really make that clear because they don't, as Teresa Gould says, or excuse me, it was, I think this is the Washington State AD, says, let's make sure we don't bylaw ourselves into places we're costing ourselves spots on a national scale. So they want that flexibility to adjust as necessary. So it is unique. It is interesting. It may cause some issues when they start instituting it. Just how they ultimately determine who's going to play whom. But nonetheless, it is intriguing. It is fascinating. And I think it's, I initially when I heard about it, I thought this sounds kind of hokey. But the more that I think about it, the flex schedule is really unique. And I think it can really help the Pac-12 because in the final weeks of the season, it's like some teams are helped by their schedule and some teams are hurt by their schedule because a team you thought was going to be good earlier in the year suddenly isn't. And a team that thought maybe they'd have a path and now they're going to face another really tough team. Is that going to hurt them? But the flex schedule allows them to improve strength of schedule. It allows them to improve chances or odds of getting another win or improves the opportunities to maybe get to a bowl game. So it's really unique. And it'll be intriguing to watch how it happens, though there will be debates about how the selections got chosen and why they got put in place the way they did. But nonetheless, it is interesting, and more people are starting to catch on and realize, hey, wait a minute, this is a little bit different. You look at the Pac-12 schools and try to figure out their schedule and predict wins and losses, and you get to the last week, and it's like, well, wait a minute, who are they actually playing? So that really makes it interesting. And then finally, one last comment here from Gould to just they really want to preserve elements of what the Pac-12 used to be. They want to preserve their history. They recognize that it's different now than it used to be, but as we were talking about soccer, they're doing the Pac-12 After Dark. They're leaning into some of the things that were very common nomenclature that connected to the Pac-12. But her quote is, "We will honor the past and celebrate the history and the successes and the traditions, while at the same time understanding that it's a new league. We're reimagining it with new schools and new student athletes and all of those things." So, yes, they did tweak their conference logo a little bit, and that's not a real big deal. It's not dramatic. It's just a refresh because there's a lot of new things going on with this league. But the biggest changes are just the new membership and this flex scheduling in football. Granted, it's not necessarily a total long-term commitment. They want to see how it works this season and then get the data, get the feedback, and decide if this is going to be a permanent thing or this is just a way to kind of hold things together in a unique way and make lemonade out of lemons since they don't have enough conference affiliates until they see, well, maybe there's somebody else that makes sense to add an expansion. But in the meantime, let's try to do something unique and do something that really could help our league and help our schools and help our institutions in a lot of different ways. So anyway, interesting article. If you get a chance to read it, Kyle Bonagura is the author. It's a good feature. And it's not a rehash of the legal wranglings between the Mountain West and the Pac-12, which a lot of reports have been over the last several months. I don't think this even touches on I don't think it mentions anything about the lawsuits and just the mentions the departing schools, and that's about it. But there's nothing about all the legal stuff going on between the two schools. So I'd recommend you go check it out. It's, again, how the rebuilt Pac-12 looks to be in a tier of its own. And I think they can be in a tier of their own. Certainly the American is going to have something to say about that. In the Mountain West, they're going to have some solid programs that will be in the mix and will have good seasons. But can your conference writ large, can everybody be elevated and be better? Because yes, those other conferences will have some good teams. Even the Sun Belt will have a good team from time to time that has a really solid season. But what does the middle and the bottom of your conference look like? Are you respectable there, or you got a lot of bottom feeders that make it easy for those teams on top to just stack wins? So the Pac-12 wants to elevate as many people as they can so that when you do get wins, those wins are a lot more respectable. And adding the flex schedule at the end of the season really helps to add to that and to improve that. So really kind of interesting stuff that they're working on. Let's do this. We need to take a timeout. And when we come back, speaking of football, Utah State announcing today some changes to game day and how things will be a little bit different in the arena. And when you get to the game to celebrate Utah State football and to watch Utah State football, maybe some incentives to get there early, some additional offerings that haven't been there before. So we'll hear from that and what that looks like and entails coming up next. And also some interesting news throughout the NBA that could affect some of our favorite people that we like to follow. Certainly one certain Sam Merrill. But another interesting note from another former Aggie, Darius Brown, getting a nice recognition and opportunity for him. So stay tuned. That's coming up next here on the Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. Birdie's Golf Lounge is at 650 North, 870 West in Logan. They've got top-of-the-line launch monitors with 3 internal cameras, which provide the most accurate readings for every part of your game. They also have leagues and competitions with national and local prizes. Go check them out at Birdie's Golf Lounge, 650 North, 870 West in Logan. So Utah State football is going to be kicking off here in just a few weeks, like 2 weeks from tomorrow, as they open the season against Idaho State on September 5th. And Utah State football, or Utah State athletics, today announcing some changes to what will be taking place in the arena when you go to a game. Certainly wanting to try to get as many people there as they can, and also creating some incentives, shall we say, in trying to get people there a little bit earlier. So they released a video earlier today. This is Cam Walker and others talking about some of the changes coming this season when you get to a Utah State football game. And one of those big ones is certainly making it easier, cheaper for some people to get to games with the lower season ticket prices. It's clearly they want a lot of people there and become fans, get your family there if you can. But some additional things as well to expect when you go to see a football game this season in the 6 home games for Utah State.
Game day at Utah State is more than just great football. It's about coming together with Aggie Nation, embracing the traditions, feeling the energy, and creating the unforgettable moments that make being an Aggie so special. As we embark on this inaugural Pac-12 season, we're taking game day to the next level with new experiences and improvements designed to make every moment count, from the moment you arrive at the stadium until the final whistle. We have season tickets, which start at just $99, making it easier than ever before to be a part of every game day here at Maverick Stadium. Season tickets don't work for you? No problem. Check out our mini plans and single game options, with single games starting at just $20.
We're moving FanFest to the south entrances, creating a new place for fans and families to gather before kickoff. Bring the whole family to enjoy games, sponsor activities, and get autographs from your favorite Aggies. We're improving wayfinding throughout the stadium and adding an in-game DJ to keep the energy going all game long. We know you love the USU Rodeo team leading out the team, and we're excited to welcome them back as our new favorite tradition. We're also giving fans more choices when it comes to food. New options will feature Papa John's, Carrie Ann's, Lee's Marketplace, and an additional Costa Vida on the Upper East deck, along with expansive options of concessions throughout the whole stadium. We're also creating a new picnic area in the Upper East section, featuring picnic tables, turf, and plenty of space to relax or let the kids play. Grab your favorite Aggie concessions, Papa John's, or Costa Vida, and enjoy a more relaxed way to experience game day with family and friends. And this season, we'll be introducing an exclusive new Aggie ice cream flavor at athletic events. Happy hour? Nah, Aggie hour. From the times the gates open until 15 minutes before kickoff, fans can enjoy half-price select concessions with a featured item highlighted at each game. Arrive early and take advantage of Aggie Hour. Throughout the season, themed games will bring even more excitement to Maverick Stadium, with new merchandise giving fans more ways to show their Aggie pride.
We're confident that all these changes will make game days even better, and we can't wait for you to experience them with us this fall. Please join us and be a part of making history. Go Aggies.
So there you have it. Yes, some interesting new announcements for Utah State. The game day experience changing a little bit. Some of the biggest takeaways for me, the season tickets for as low as $99. And that's not really, that's a good deal for 6 home games. And it makes it a lot easier to get your family there or those who don't have as much. But if that's too much, there are different mini plans. You can buy a few select games here or there. But the Aggie Hour, I think that's probably one of the other bigger ones that stood out to me, where select items at concessions are up to 50% off, up to 15 minutes before kickoff. So trying to get more people there at discounted prices, but also get them there earlier, get them in their seats, get the energy going before the game starts. That's so important. And then also really intrigued with adding concessions and kind of the picnic areas on that upper east side, that upper concourse area, to give incentive to kind of spread things out. Not everybody has to flow to one specific area for concessions, because then you're in line forever. You're fighting crowds. It's hard to get in and get out. So if you have different pockets where you can spread that out, it's going to improve the overall experience for everybody and get them back in their seats quicker so they can cheer on the team. They don't miss any of the excitement. So pretty interesting announcements for Utah State. I don't know if there's any that really stood out to you. Certainly, if there are, I'd love to hear your thoughts about Utah State making some of their adjustments or announcements for getting you ready for game day, as that's going to be starting on September 5th, just a few weeks away from now, as the Aggies open up the season with Idaho State. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in and your thoughts about those changes and announcements. Otherwise, we'll take another quick timeout and be right back here on the Full Court Press. Get ready for the biggest the biggest deal hunting event with the garage sale. It's Cache Valley's biggest garage sale coming up on August 29th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Eccles Ice Center parking lot in North Logan, presented by DD Auto and Salvage. A lot of different vendors there. Dozens of vendors will be there. If you want to have a booth space to sell some of your stuff, you can. There's more details at CacheValleyGarageSale.com. There's also going to be bouncy houses for kids. That's free, courtesy of Checkett's Amusements. There's going to be food trucks on hand. Great party, great place to find a lot of great deals. And if you got students coming back to campus or trying to get an apartment filled or just looking for interesting and unique items, go check out CacheValleyGarageSale.com. All the details about what's coming up next Saturday. Not tomorrow, but next Saturday at the Eccles Ice Arena parking lot in North Logan. I got this text in from 8968. Where will the new season tickets be? I'm not sure what areas qualify for that ticket price that they talked about, the $99. But I know they do have a variety of different options that they're trying to restructure a lot of things, trying to get more people to the games and create longer term fans and certainly help people with families be able to get there with their kids and extra people that they have. So I can't speak specifically to what areas that $99 season ticket gets you, but contact the USU ticket office. I'm sure they'll have all those details for you. 9315 texting in, I like the new changes for USU football. Way better than whatever that thing is from BYU. 1,000 to see a mascot. No thanks. Yeah, there's a lot of weird things going on at one particular school down south about paying extra fees to get certain fan experiences. But you know what? They're trying to generate revenue. I can't fault them for that. And they're not the only ones doing things like that. But real quick, wanted to pass along an interesting thing that took place. We mentioned this the other day, but the Cleveland Cavaliers made a trade. Max Strus is on the way to the Clippers. Looks like maybe that opens up a greater opportunity for Sam Merrill. They did extend a contract with James Harden, so he is still around. So Sam's still going to be coming off the bench. This doesn't elevate him into a starter role, but does probably improve his rotation a little bit with Cleveland. And another former Cleveland player, more with their G League team, that's Darius Brown. He was just announced to be a part of Team USA's FIBA World Cup team that they've put together. They've got some qualifying games in FIBA World Cup going on right now. Team USA, their games start, I believe that's next week. Games against like Chile and Colombia and things like that. But some of those games I think will be in America. Some will be in South America. We'll get more details on that when it gets closer. But Darius Brown made that roster. So representing Team USA. What a cool honor for him. And some other big news today in the NBA. Klay Thompson looks like he's leaving Dallas, headed to Miami. And DeMar DeRozan is headed to Denver. So some changes to the dynamics going on in the Western Conference with the Utah Jazz. And one last thing we wanted to pass along and just remind folks of what's going on. A lot of former Aggies trying to make rosters, not just Darius Brown, but in the NFL. We've got a number of former Aggies trying to make their way, trying to get on the different rosters. We had a game last night, had a couple of games last night, actually. Noah Avenger was playing for the Chargers. He did record one solo tackle in that game. Devin Tompkins seems to be establishing himself as a multifaceted player that the Las Vegas Raiders are recognizing. He had one carry for 4 yards, 2 receptions for 9 yards, but where he's doing his most damage is in the return game. He had 1 kickoff return for 23 yards and 3 punt returns for 15 yards. So tally all that up. That's pretty good all-purpose yardage for Devin Tompkins. A couple other Aggies, former Aggies, will be in action, some tonight, some on Saturday. Tonight, Brady Boyd with Jacksonville. He's going to be going up against his old teammate, Miles Davis, who plays for Carolina. They kick off, well, they're underway right now, actually. Just kicked off at about 5:30 on ESPN Unlimited. Also, a little bit later on tonight, 7 o'clock, Jordan Love on the NFL Network with Green Bay taking on Kyrese Rowan and the Denver Broncos. Now, Jordan Love is expected to start. Don't know how, or to play. Don't know how many snaps he'll take, but he is expected to play tonight. On Saturday, a couple other games to keep an eye on. The Rams, Wyatt Bowles is trying to make it onto their offensive line. They play the Saints at 2 o'clock on ESPN Unlimited. No broadcast of the Cincinnati versus Chicago game. Jalen Davis didn't play in the last game for Cincinnati. Unsure if he'll play in this one or not. Jalen Royals and the Chiefs, they'll be taking on the Buccaneers at 5:30 on Saturday. That will be on ESPN Unlimited. And on Sunday, doesn't involve any former Aggies. Just to let you know, this is a game that's happening. You've got the Seahawks at Tennessee, 6 o'clock on Fox on Sunday as the NFL preseason rolls on. So, kind of exciting to see some of these players trying to make it on some of these rosters. Some seem to be doing a little better than others. Devin Tompkins is doing well. Of course, he's been on a few different teams trying to make his way, so he's definitely more familiar with what it means to be in the NFL life. Miles Davis had a great debut, a little bit muted in game 2. We'll see if he has a return to that. But we've seen some other Aggies do well. Certainly, I'm really curious to see Jalen Royals, who had his season kind of cut short last year because of some injury. but has been working through that and has been one of the favorite targets of Patrick Mahomes in training camp. So we'll see if he actually has some plays that he's able to do and showcase on Saturday when the Chiefs take on the Buccaneers at 5:30. Also, just a quick reminder, rundown of what's going on with high school sports. Bear River hosting Box Elder tonight on 104.9 The Ranch and on CashValleyDaily.com. You've got Green Canyon hosting Springville on 100.9 Light FM, video streaming on Cache Valley Daily. Logan is at Preston. That game on KVNU 102.1 FM, 610 AM, video streaming on Cache Valley Daily. Ridgeline, their home opener, taking on Park City tonight in Millville on 104.5 The Ranch and on video streaming on Cache Valley Daily. And the first time we get to see the Mountain Crest Mustangs after they mercy ruled Deer Creek in their opener. They're hosting Wasatch tonight in Hiram on 107.7 and video streaming on Cache Valley Daily. Certainly we'll have game recaps and scores of the games tonight, photo galleries from a variety of these games taking place. And if you want to go back and rewatch these games, maybe you're at one game and you're curious about another afterwards and all weekend long, you can go back and rewatch these games for free, easy to find. And you maybe even go back and watch some other games that have to do with that particular school, as we have that all organized by school on CashValleyDaily.com. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the texts and the comments on YouTube, on the YouTube chat, and on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. And always love to get those coming in. If you're listening on the podcast, you can always submit your question or your comment whenever it comes to your mind, because we'll do our best to get to it when we're back on the air once again with you here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. We're back at it again on Monday. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some different changes with eligibility rules by then. Don't forget, Utah State football is hosting their Family Fun Day tomorrow. It's 3:30 to 6. It's not an open practice. It's not an open scrimmage. We'll be scrimmaging and practicing before, but it's not open to the public. Once it concludes, then they will come up onto the concourse, and still an opportunity to get autographs, see the players, meet them in person, and there will be some other things going on. But also Utah State volleyball has a blue-white scrimmage this weekend. So a lot of things to watch and go to and support, from local high schools to Utah State stuff going on as well. And we'll be back at it again on Monday to recap what happened over a busy weekend as we get 1 week closer to the start of college football. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com. If you missed anything, you can always find it on our podcasts, which can be found on our website, on our mobile app, or wherever you subscribe to podcasts, and on YouTube. The Fan KLGN is our YouTube channel. Have a great night, everybody.